But DSG does have first pick.
I hate
You got
this.
baited by the 2026
I hate this.
changes.
I got baited by myself and my 15 years of watching League of Legends with a standard
I apologize
draft.
for being correct because DSG does have the first pick.
Yep. I apologize that my prompter was giving me the right information despite my instincts saying the other way. And that does actually set up. It threw me off because the Aurora ban, I was thinking would set up a first pick, but why would you ban it if you don't have control of first pick? Because now Castle just gets it.
Yeah, I guess maybe they can go Galio as the answer. That's more impact-y anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe they were saying, oh, I don't think, either we go Galio as an answer or, you don't first pick the Rumble and then we take it away and you can't do the Aurora, which would be more of the Castle style. So this is going to be interesting. Zhao grabbed up early. As the AD junglers, we've worked through a lot of them. So that does become, really kind of prime real estate.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Zen is up this late, and then DSG just says, okay, we're dropping our Kryra jungle pick for later.
There's the Galio that's
gotta be
expecting.
Galio.
I would think for sure. We'll see. I mean, Bard into Varus, always really, really strong. Lyonz, I don't think has had a good series, and Bard is a high execution champion. I'm expecting the Galio. I think when they ban the Aurora and you give over the Rumble, you have to go Galio. But over on this DSG side, there's no true setup yet for Castle. And I think Equalizer without really good setup can be tough. Obviously, you can like Bard ult, then Equalizer over the top, but it's not the same as like a Rahel or a Nautilus or whatever.
Currently, it's just lane push, but there could be some funny business. We could have some funny business. You could jungle Rumble, and you now have a Galio sitting there that could also flex mid or top. So I think there's still some funny business left to be seen. Silas ban once again. They're really targeting Callme, I think, quite successfully in these last few games in draft as well as in game.
Yeah, and I mean, I have to credit DARKWINGS. I mentioned it last game, but I thought DARKWINGS and Impact were going to be the ones that were more easily targeted, but the Veigar was great last game. We'll see how he performs here in Game 5. Callme definitely has been outperformed by DARKWINGS, though, for sure. I think both DARKWINGS and huhi really playing well this series has made a difference to bring us all the way to Game 5. More mid lane bans coming through as Syndra is going to now be targeted. And the question is, where will DARKWINGS go? He already brought us something new thus far. Jace, who has been getting through a lot of the series,
but
is
I just
now banned.
think really good bans by Sentinels there. The Jace is would be such a good pick for Callme right there. It's denied.
It's also interesting, too, because if they think DARKWINGS is too pinched, he can just play Galio, right? Like, in a worst-case scenario, we're like, I don't know what to play. You can play Galio. Syndra's going to be banned out. Cassio's going to be banned out. So he has to show us another new pick, because every champion that he has played, unless he is going to swap that Galio to mid lane, is going to be gone already. And we'll find out where he wants to take us. Varus, obviously, a really high-priority pick in general, but Hwei makes a lot of sense. I do think control mages are the bread and butter for DARKWINGS, so he's going to be able to lock that in. Now, Callme, he has counter pick, but what do you have left here to try to really turn things on their head? LeBlanc would be super risky, and I just don't know if he's performing at a level that I kind of really want to see it from. Diana would be interesting as a jungle pick. It's something that hasn't been played a lot of, but that would be giving yourselves quite a lot of AP.
I'm so curious the way this draft plays out. The Hwei is something that we've seen from DARKWINGS last year.
Ooh.
Tristana mid to balance out the damage.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's great into Hwei, though, with the range difference.
Yeah, the range difference, and also one of the interactions that it makes it really, really tough, because I used to play a lot of Tristana mid, is anytime you actually go for a rocket jump, he can just fear you. Like, because there's no dodging the rocket, there's no dodging while you're in the rocket jump, right?
Yeah.
So I think that can be a difficulty, is sometimes you can get pushed in, and generally speaking, like, Trist has been nerfed mid quite a few times, so you kind of have to have push and win out early, or you can sometimes just get whittled down. So I'm a little bit worried for Callme on this, but it is going to give them some really good scaling. You have super consistent DPS here between the Sivir as well as the Tristana. It gives you double AD threat against the Galio, who wants to be kind of anti-MR, and it's going to be Sejuani to give them their hard engage. So Sejuani, we are assuming going to be in the jungle, and Rumble top. huhi going to be able to grab another engage champ. I feel like Sen just has an easier draft to play. You send in Rakan and Xin, Galio also over the top, and you have two really solid carries.
They definitely do. They won Game 4, so they're the ones that are sitting with the momentum. But the Rumble that has been banned all series did fall into the hands of Castle. We'll see if he can get anything going early on. Not to mention just the big Game 5 picks like the Sejuani, something Cry has always been successful with in lower tier leagues. But he's going up against a Xin, who's like a That's a game 1 Fearless jungler.
Yeah.
So a few power picks definitely making their way into game 5, which we kind of joked about when we had that crazy Ivern Nasus game 3. The game 5 will then actually feel more normal.
What will we get? Ornn versus Cassandra. They have had a great showing, you know, with a team that has a lot of young players. 4 of them, this is their first ever playoff series over on the DSG side, and they are going 5 games. Of course, over on the other team, we do have people that are having their first series as well. HamBak and DARKWINGS had never played any playoff games either, so that is really cool for a lot of these guys to be getting experience, and I feel like a lot of them are showing up.
And HamBak has improved incredibly since week 1 when they lost to DSG. And I don't think we necessarily knew the whole story of HamBak when he arrived on week 1, because the week 1 game between these two teams was Kisno subbing in for Kryra, and we think, oh, Sentinels has their whole team, so they're going to be more coordinated. But HamBak had just joined the team, and I learned that he hadn't scrimmed in a year because he got subbed out of his Tier 1 team in LCK, was the 6th man, so wasn't scrimming with the academy team, wasn't scrimming with the main team. So it made sense that he was having issues with coordination, but him and huhi have been so connected in the latter part of these series. He seems to have a good early game every single time, and he's going to look to have one more to win this game 5.
I'm very impressed by DARKWINGS. I mean, yeah, he did come in a little bit at the end of last year, but like, you know, he subbed in to a DSG team that was like the most dead last, you know, at the end of last split. Him and Rahel came in, you know, really did make pretty big changes on that roster when they subbed in. They were really able to step things up, and you know, I had questions about how he was going to perform, you know, in this team. A lot of coaches that I had talked to had the same questions as well, and I think he's been very, very good here against Callme, and DARKWINGS, you know, earning his spot. Definitely, he's looking good.
Yeah, he definitely holds his own. I think has been the better mid laner so far in this series, but game 5 can always change that story. So I'm excited about the performance of both of these teams, because especially when you have these teams who, for a lot of people, were either middle or bottom of the pack, both being such strong performers, it just creates for a very exciting league. And when they play against each other, they always seem to go the distance.
I mean, it makes it really unpredictable. You know, a lot of our power rankings have been pretty off. You never know what's going to happen by the end of the split, but it's been a lot of fun to watch thus far. As Impact looking for a trade here onto Castle, and we'll proc that phase rush and just walk out. So I actually really love this new Galio skin. I think it's actually pretty sick.
I love it, except, I mean, I love it because I'm going to play it. I just don't actually think it's that readable compared to other Galio skins. The ultimate is harder for me to see, not to mention the spikes on the wings look a little bit like a Relia ultimate going off to me. I imagine pro players now are completely used to it because it's such a cool skin and I see it picked every single time. But man, it looks super cool, I'll give you that.
A little bit pay to win there, you know?
That's your words. I'm just saying.
I'm just translating
like
for Jatt. Jatt wants capital punishment and dumb like pay to win skins. There you go. But no, it's definitely a cool skin. I mean, I remember that when you remember. What is the Ashe skin called? That was like one of those legendary Ashe skins. I remember a lot of pro players told me that the Hawk Shot they thought was like ultimate when it first came out. But people get used to those pretty quick. So, you know, I definitely think pro players are going to be seeing it a lot and not really going to be thrown off by the animations whatsoever. So not too big of a deal there, as top lane looking pretty even. Really across the board, things are quite even. We just have full clears from both junglers. And then really just kind of trading of farm around here. Only thing we haven't touched on yet is Rahel, of course, is going to be playing on hit Varus. Makes a lot of sense. He is going to be that high DPS build. You know, you have to be able to get through that Sejuani, and they want to have that consistent damage, as Galio isn't really going to be bringing that.
Yeah, I could definitely see it going both ways, because if he had gone lethality, he'd have the range advantage on both the Trist and the Sivir, but definitely is better against the Sejuani to have the attack speed. I think this is one of those games where he could have gone either way. Yeah,
fair enough. Both of them are quite strong, and that's that interaction I was talking about. When you rocket jump in on the Trist, you are going to get feared, and generally that means you're going to get hit by 2 spells, which is going to be a proc of that passive. As Kryra is over in the area, but Castle going to have to flash out because HamBak was there first. Lyonz now here on the invade. Should have been spotted by that ward, though, as he walked in the brush. So HamBak, I think, is waiting for impact and seeing, can I get over there for a smite steal? huhi has now arrived as well, as nice sidestep there from Lyonz. Will be able to go over the wall, but Kryra in some trouble. They're going to just continue the chase here. Will impact flash forward? He uses the taunt. Can't really catch too much, but does get the bard, and Lyonz now flashing out. Not going to be able to get away. First blood grabbed by DARKWINGS, as these invades are just not working out for DSG whatsoever.
Yeah, total disaster. They're losing so much off of this. I mean, Rumble is able to push in top lane, but mid lane has to sit. Raptors will go over. what could have just stayed a standard full clear game for the Sejuani versus the Xin. Kryra, 2 games in a row in pretty much the same spot, ends up leading to a team death. So good start for Sentinels, but it's pretty much just huhi being on top of things, matching the roams and playing defense.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this time obviously they had Lyonz, making the roam, so they did have their support up there as well. But yeah, it's the same play. They went for the same kind of invade. Last time Kryra goes down, this time he does not go down himself, but unfortunately it is a first blood going there over to DARKWINGS. And again, these kind of matchups can sometimes snowball pretty heavily, as Callme getting chunked low does have the bar, trying to heal himself back up. And Lyonz, flashed late. He didn't flash the taunt from Impact. Ended up taking that, got incredibly low, then flashed and died anyway. And that is a pretty punishing death. That's one that he should have had to use his flash, but I don't think he should have died.
Yeah, they likely would have lost a lot of pressure regardless, but the death adds insult to injury. You can see they've also now gone double call. Something that I think is fine, especially if you're just holding the game even. Like with double AD carry and a front line, oftentimes you're kind of waiting for the game to come to you, but now they're going to try and make something happen onto Rahel or huhi. Hard to get a Rakan, though. Yeah,
not going to be able to get much. Lyonz playing Lex Shoot, so does get at least that proc. Going to be a potion used by huhi, but it's just refillable, so honestly, who cares? Rahel going to be rushing towards that Blade of the Rune King. And Sajed taking a little bit of damage there, but it is just kind of a farm fest down on that bottom side. I mean, the scaling obviously not bad whatsoever for DSG. They do have these double AD carries. Looks like Callme is potentially going in towards some Merc Treads here early on, just to try to answer all of the CC as well as the magic damage that is going to be coming out.
Makes a lot of sense. I think they need to be in a defensive pattern, though. I'm trying to get in the head of Kryra and why he's going for these engages. It's almost like they're very flippy engages. I don't feel like they necessarily had a very strong lane to play through, because even if you have the Rumble push top, Galio can always just move through the brush and get to you first. I'm not sold on it. He doesn't have stronger dueling than the Xin. It's backfired 2 games in a row, and I feel like they have better scaling as well. So it's like a home run play where he's almost just trying to ego on him a little bit. Yeah, I mean, and it ends up getting punished.
My guess is if you talk to him, he would say if we execute on the play well, we should win. Because they had the first base from Lyonz, so I think they feel like, oh, Bard's going to get there first. We are quick on the play. You hit all your skills, and then you push them back, or you just kind of win out in the fight. But of course, you miss the stun. You don't actually make that happen. Then huhi shows up, and things go pretty bad. So maybe just feels like, hey, it's an execution thing. It is the right play, but we're not executing on it. But has happened a couple times in a row, and it is one of those risky moves that can be punished quite heavily. As Impact gets back to lane now, is down to almost 20 CS. A little bit of that is obviously from the roam, but the same thing happened last game, and it ended up not mattering whatsoever. Castle got out to a pretty early 20-ish CS lead in the Zehen Jax matchup, but then Impact was not getting punished more heavily than that, eventually caught up.
Yeah, Impact has been incredibly solid. Also, based off of the shenanigans that happened to Gromp, seems like a pretty easy Drake by HamBak. This might be the first Drake the Sentinels has gotten this series, but the pressure's really on for Sentinels now, invading blue buff as well.
I actually really like this. So huhi, it's kind of a subtle play, but he goes behind, he interrupts the Bard recall, and he stacks the wave behind the tower. So what this does is it means that the wave is pushing away from DSG. So Sajed now has no support, and he can't walk up to the wave. So his wave is getting denied. Kryra is also getting pushed out. Lyonz is back now, but like they are just bleeding minions on the bottom side of that lane. And, it should be pushing away. And as you see, it is. Because all because of this little thing that huhi did where he stacked the wave. That's like plus 4 or 5 minions that huhi made from stacking the wave behind their tower. And then knowing Sajed can't back up.
And they just cleaned the entire jungle from Kryra. Like, he is fuming at the moment. They lose Gromp, they lose the minions bot lane, and they can't even defend the jungle. So Sentinels, HamBak, huhi, jungle support synergy has been completely on point. They match the first invade, repel it, and then they execute their own invade expertly.
Yeah, there's Callme jumps in, immediately gets feared, and the ulti is going to be thrown down. He, of course, will survive, but it is tough when you take that damage. And Trist, it's like, yeah, technically you can go in for some early lifesteal, but then your first item is so delayed. You do not want to go like BT or Bork on Trist as your first item. You want to go just crit scaling items. So these matchups where you're getting poked become very, very difficult because Trist only trades by going aggressive. And when you jump in, you get feared and you just get hit by ulti, it is really, really tough. And in my experience, these matchups just kind of get worse as it goes on. Of course, you always have that ability to maybe outplay in the team fight, but it's Not easy for Callme, and he has had a really tough series.
Yeah, he's got to try and survive off of the life on hit from Call, the Omnivan from Doran's, and the lifesteal from Legend Bloodline, which is little tiny bits of lifesteal throughout the lane.
Yeah, but they do get the flash, though, off DARKWINGS. That is very nice, as Kryra makes a visit in towards mid. And he is playing Zeke, so it is going to be that lower CDR on the ulti. Sejuani's often loving these support item builds now. And it is quite efficient, right? You know, you get the armor, the Amara, the health, the CDR, as well as 15 ultimate ability haste, and then you have the AoE slow from it. So it's quite nice. Callme, though, getting chipped down and pushed in. Is down about half HP and will have to go back to base as DARKWINGS continuing to slowly build that gold lead after grabbing the first blood and even going to be able to cancel that recall again.
Yeah, I mean, DSG's really on the back foot right now. Sentinels seems to be able to do whatever they want. Yes, Castle can push an impact, but we know in the first 14 minutes of the game, that doesn't really matter almost ever for the top laners. All the plays are happening through mid-bot at the moment, and that's where DARKWINGS is pushing in Callme, and another engage on the Lyonz.
Yeah, Lyonz going to be trying to get out of there. Flashes away, but HamBak just flashes over the Tempered Fate, finishes him off. Lyonz picked again, felt safe to walk up because he had the magical journey, but it just doesn't matter. They commit to him and they get that kill.
But, like, Kryra is just without plays at the moment. It's another deep invade, and he's losing his Gromp for the second rotation in a row. Last time it was Blue Gromp, now it's Wolves Gromp. It's going to become a massive experience advantage for Xin versus Sejuani in this game.
He's down over 30 CS in the jungle. That is brutal. Yeah, Kryra is feeling like he is kind of out of it. And a lot of it, I feel like, yeah, you know, it's one of these things where it's just kind of snowballing off of the earlier play, right? But great engage here. Can they actually knock down HamBak? Let's see. Sajed going to be turned around on, is in some trouble, going to get knocked down, pops the ulti. Sajed has to use the heal and does have the spell shield come back up. The ulti from HamBak will expire, but he dashes back in, gets the flash force. HamBak almost gets him with the wind, becomes lightning, and Kryra takes the kill. So Sajed has to use his flash. They have to use the heal from Lyonz. They barely take him down in a 3v1, and now he buys Sundered Sky.
I mean, thank God they killed him. Otherwise, wrap it up. That would have been GG right there. Because they did, that's pretty huge. You got a lot of slingshot experience when you have a big level advantage like that. The kill going over to Kryra, even though it's not ideal for your late game carry, helps him a little bit stay somewhat adequate against HamBak and items. But Huhi's just going to continue to keep annoying Sivir right here, and Kryra, he still can't really farm.
No, I mean, how fearless is Huhi this game? It feels like it's like the fourth time he's been behind the towers. He's just standing in between the two towers saying, you know what, you can't do anything about it. Like, we know you have no Sejuani help. Good luck locking me down. You're not going to be able to do anything to me. So he's just harassing them constantly. I love this kind of play from Huhi, where you really know the limits of your champions, but also, almost more importantly, you know the limits of their champions. And when they're missing this Sejuani ult, they have nothing really to lock you down. So Huhi's just kind of dancing on him and being as annoying as he possibly can. HamBak going to come back in for the invade. The Wind Becomes Lightning will miss the big Krug there, excuse me, the big Raptor there, so won't be able to grab that, but they just go right back down towards the bot side. DARKWINGS is up 900 gold at this point. Callme is just getting kind of gapped in the mid lane. It's been really, really tough, and it should be a freebie at the Dragon, you have to feel like, because look where Huhi is again. He's scouting everything out. They're not worried at all.
Yeah, still really impressed with HamBak and just the overall synergy from Sentinels in this Game 5. It's been such a hard-fought series to this point. Definitely a few mistakes being made in previous games, but in this one, the overplay early by DSG into the jungle of Sentinels, and since then it's just been Sentinels living in this bot side. So at least Kryra gets his wolves, but blue is gone again, and the wave isn't accessible for Sajed Sivir, and the Gromp is once again being pressured by HamBak.
This is a crazy game from Huhi. I feel like he's just played this so well, constantly in their face.
They have to reset that bot wave.
He got the Gromp again. Yeah, when the wave is just pushing away from him once more, Sajed can never move up. He's down 40 plus CS. This is ridiculous. And it's like, it's not like he's missing CS. He just can't walk up to the wave. Every time Huhi's going behind, he's stacking the wave against him, so it's pushing out away from him. And Lyonz is like recalling and not there to help him push it out. They're constantly re-invading, so he doesn't feel comfortable to move up. It's a 1.6k gold lead in the bot lane without a kill. Like, this is just crazy. And sure, you have Sivir, you have Trist, great, you're going to scale, but I don't even know if they outscale, and they're just getting pummeled in the early game.
He's still got 40 cull stacks left. Like, he's just been sitting there slowly trying to complete a support quest, but he can't do anything. How is the gold only 1,400? That's that's the puzzle here.
Well, look at top lane.
It's 900 for the Rumble.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's the answer, really.
I guess that's it.
Yep, it's that, and it's the Callme Cull cashed out. So,
yep.
you know, you get an injection of gold from that. You have 900 gold in the top lane. So that is kind of like making it appear a little bit closer. Of course, you know, Castle is strong, so that is something that they have going for them. But again, like I touched on in Champ Select, there's not really that much lockdown for Castle. So you could drop a good equalizer. Like you hit a Bard ult onto the Varus, you drop equalizer on his head after that. You're hoping that Sejuani can hit an ult or something, but there's not that many tools to hold him in place.
And Huhi's just first out of Mikhail's, because why not?
Yep.
Because that's the one engage that DSG has.
I love it.
So Sentinels definitely making this draft look very effortless in its execution, knowing that there's just that one bit of hard engage. Huhi's Rakan is kind of checkmating the game, it feels like, so far.
Yeah, I mean, Huhi went for an early Mikhail's even in the Leona game as well. Like, he's just grabbing it. It's making sense in pretty much every position he's taking it. And especially in this game where you have basically one button to engage, and Mikhail says, nope, can't do that. So that gets really, really tough. Rahel is scaling. Sajed has had a bit of time to farm these waves. Now they've moved him over towards mid lane, so finally he's getting access to some minions here. And they just have to hope, you know what, scale, 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 and maybe you can have a big team fight win later on, but Cryer going to have to flash out and use the ult defensively. He's trying to invade to get something back, but HamBak is there, and he's up 2 levels, so there's no way you're ever going to win a duel against that. And DARKWINGS just moves over, and now all your playmaking tools are gone. Cryer feels like maybe falling victim to a little frustration when you're getting invaded.
He got the red. I actually think that's fine. He got the red, and he's...
For your flash and your ults?
Yep. Because like, think about what's been happening to his life in this game in the last 10 minutes. He just, they are in his house and he can't get rid of them. So now, even with no ult, oh, DARKWINGS fails flash.
DARKWINGS, oh no, he did fail his flash going over the wall. Tried to get over, but doesn't get hugging the wall before he uses the flash and is going to get taken down as a result. They are able to grab that kill, and Castle continuing to extend that lead. And it's Callme going to be able to jump out to safety, nicely buffered on the taunt, but Sentinels pushing in mid lane, looking to try to knock him down.
I think this is going to be mid turret, which will open up the map even more. The gold is very close, especially after that shutdown went for DARKWINGS, but I feel like there's a lot of standing gold that Sentinels is going to want to collect.
So he is back in his home, in between the 2 towers. Now abusing Castle, but he's taking a lot of damage this time as he does get hit by a binding. Castle going to overheat, trying to move forward here, going to be thrown into the exhaust. Nice sidestep on the Varus ult though. Rahel trying to turn things around. Cryer is here. They won't be able to get a kill, but no one falls on either side. It is just the 1K gold lead now. Castle's strength does have to be respected.
It really does. Once they can play around the Rumble, now that they've gotten him out of that lane, the game is looking a little bit, I mean, a lot more playable, because it was really feeling unplayable for pretty much, you know, 5 minutes through 15 minutes. It felt like there was nothing they could do. They fell 50 CS behind in jungle and in bot lane. But now, you know, Callme has kept his CS up, has cashed in his call, might even be able to get this turret in.
And he is playing against an MR stacking Galio, right? Like, this is a first full item of magic resist. They do throw down the Bard ulti. Can they look for a play? But all of Sentinels are coming. This is looking not good. Callme should be able to knock down the tower, but can he actually get out of dodge? Does have the rocket jump, but that is not going to keep him safe. Knocks down the tower, but it'll cost him his life. Unfortunately for Sentinels, Huhi grabs the kill. We'll see if they can get anything else off the back of it.
Huhi should not have done that, but it's a good kill nonetheless. Questionable Bard ult right there. So not sure what the plan was, but they get the gold onto Callme at least before he falls, and now Lyonz and Cryer are at least stopping DARKWINGS from pushing through. So they're keeping this game actually very playable. Like, if they get to a team fight where Callme and Sajed are sitting on 3 or 4 items and it hasn't been sold yet, they'd still actually have a chance despite how much Huhi and HamBak have dominated in the early game.
I think it's definitely possible, but when I think about compositionally, I think it's very difficult, because how do your AD carries get past the Xin Zhao with the ultimate being active, and how do you find a good engage to burst someone down when there's Mikhail's on the other side and counter engage from Huhi? I feel like there's probably a very high chance that the Sentinels carries will have a lot easier time in the fight, where I don't know if DSG can get past the Xin. So I think that's really the question here, is can they set up Sajed as well as Callme to have a successful fight? And they're going to go for the engage. The equalizer will get thrown down, but I mean, it's super late. It's after the dragon is already taken. I thought they weren't even going to try to fight, but they're like, well, all 5 are here. I guess we'll try. So they drop equalizer as well as the glacial prison. Doesn't really get them anything, though, and it is now soul point for Sentinels, and that is going to be a potential mountain soul here in just over 4.5.
Yeah, Sentinels playing with a huge amount of confidence as Rahel has paused the game, so we'll have to check on what is going on there.
Hwei has been fantastic this game, and it feels like Callme didn't have a good answer into it.
Yeah, I hope DARKWINGS has a similar trajectory to what we've seen from APA in Tier 1, because DARKWINGS feels like this super young new player, but he's 25. He played like 7 years in Tier 2 before actually getting his chance, and then as soon as he does, he performs at a very high level. So hopefully stories like his are like, even if you didn't think this is some incredible standout Tier 2 player that must be thrown in LCS, once you get a few reps, even without the same champion pool as others, he's been very effective.
And I feel like we've seen that from a lot of the players that have come up, right? You know, we're seeing a lot of young players on FlyQuest. We're seeing guys like Kryra, like Kisno, like Sajed, all looking really strong as Huhi playing this very aggressively. In comes Impact from behind, and Lyonz could be in some trouble, but is able to use the magical journey to get back to safety. But Callme is now cut off from the rest of his team, and Impact is going to be able to tank this one up. Callme flashes back. Good Bard ult to buy a bit of time. And now DARKWINGS get caught under the tower by a Kryra ultimate. Nice turnaround there. The resets could be coming through. Do they want to jump in on this? Sajed arrives. They're going to try to chase down Impact, who has no flash. Rahel in position, going to try to look for a turn. The equalizer comes through, and Castle flashes over. He has the overheat there, trying to knock down Rahel. Doesn't quite have the damage, but they do get a couple kills. Do they have the confidence to go for the Baron? They're going to make the call to try to do it. Callme is basing. His TP still on cooldown, though, unless the Spectator client is wrong. And Castle may have just gone too far. Castle now is zoned off by himself. He wanted to chase. The rest of his team wanted Baron. And now that miscommunication may really cost them. Callme is back, but, oh man, Castle chased way too far. The rest of the team wanted to go for the Baron. I feel like they could have tried.
I think they could have tried, but it's also an 18,000 health Baron. Double AD carry takes it very quick. That would have been their window back in the game. So I agree with the call. Just go for it. It felt like a small miracle the way this started. Like, Callme goes to defend this turret 1v3, and the best Bard ult of the game catches two of the divers, not the turret, which allows the turret to just one-shot DARKWINGS, and then they have Impact no flash. Potentially the best play would have been for Castle to not teleport in, because he gets the turret bot lane, and DSG probably still wins the fight. But once Castle's in, he's thinking, we need to hit a home run right now. They get the shutdown on Impact and could probably have turned for Baron, but that is going to be something for their review. We don't have time to go over that now.
No, we don't at all, but we're back to live, and Impact could be in some trouble. Remember, has no flash. They're not going to fully commit to it, though. Kryra did use the ulti, but clearly they cannot just punch through this Galio. He is very tanky. He has had the Randwinds for a while.
Really love that Randwinds pickup for him. Doesn't over-prioritize the magic resist. Needed a little bit for the early lane against Castle. Now with 2 crit damage dealers, that's the best tank item he can build in the game so far.
And Sentinels, they want to keep accelerating this game, where DSG kind of want to slow it down in a bit, because you really want to get to the IE on both the Tristana as well as the Sivir. And if they can get this next Dragon, get towards IE for both of their carries, that would be huge. But Callme going to be able to rocket jump to safety, will be pushed back, and it means that tower top should fall. Of course, they're not going to have the IE for this next fight, and that is going to be the soul fight. So this is the one that DSG really have to problem solve for. Can they find a way to make it work here? There will be no flash on Castle, their strongest member, no flash on Callme either.
Going to be extremely difficult. I think step one is get a lane pushing. I really think Castle needs to be on bot lane, get that pushed in as deep as possible, because you need to have at least one angle to approach the Drake from. They're over-grouping a little bit mid to not get more pushed in, but at the very least, being able to take a little bit of vision in River is a positive play.
Another thing that's really big is Sentinels have TP advantage, but Impact, did he overstep here? The reset on that rocket jump is going to allow him to jump again. The Buster Shot interrupted the ulti. Callme can't go for more, but he does push Impact back and gets his ult. That's actually huge, because Impact was the TP advantage, where there was no TP for Callme or Castle. So that is a really big win in the side lane there for DSG, and it gives them a much better shot now with no Galio ult at this next fight.
No Trist ult as well. Probably got a little greedy at the very end of it, but Castle and Kryra doing their best to just hold vision in the River. They know a lot of this game does hinge on their ability to secure this Drake, but they do have first setup, so Sentinels does have to move into them, which can be pretty difficult.
Yeah, they're going to have to wait for Callme, though, so they can't start a fight just yet. They need to be very, very careful. They are in a 5v4 right now until Callme arrives, and Callme might be spotted soon. Sentinels trying to posture aggressively with that extra man. Now Callme shows Castle on the side is in a lot of trouble. He has no flash from the previous fight, drops the equalizer, but he could be in trouble. Cryra over the wall, catches the ulti onto Rahel, but it's Castle that's down. The ulti comes through from Lyonz, but it gets him nothing. Sajed is going to try to flash into the magical journey, but it expires. Sajed is going to fall. Sentinels win the fight. They want more, and they're going to get it. And now Cryra running for the hills. Callme pushes mid, but it's a 2K gold lead. It is a one fight, and it is going to be Soul for Sentinels.
Total disaster for DSG, but so much confidence from HamBak, just going straight on to Rumble, who was flashless and separated from the team. Bard ult is just too late, and the portal probably too early. It's a total disaster there as DSG lose 3 and the Soul.
That's Mountain Soul. This is going to make things a lot more difficult. That being said, they do have a lot of DPS. They do have that high DPS comp, so it's not doomed. It's not like you have full assassins and you have no follow-up damage, but it's going to make things a lot more difficult, as well as the flat armor and MR increase that is going to really benefit champions like the Galio, who is stacking that. So now you definitely need your Last Whispers. You can see they're going to be building towards that next for Callme and Sajed, which means IE is going to be 4th or later. And it's a little bit of desperation time for DSG. They're going to overload a side lane and see, hey, can we actually find something here? Does someone step too far forward?
Hoping to get 1 or 2 kills and then maybe be able to sneak Baron. Maybe similar to the way they won the Ivern Nasus game. Don't have quite the same scaling, but this is the state that they're in right now. At least they're trying for creative plays, but Sentinels just needs to make sure their waves are pushed up, make sure they're approaching with vision, and they should be able to close this one out.
I mean, they keep canceling their recalls. They could get spotted in that brush, and that would be a disaster here, because now there's a lot more Sentinel members on that top side.
I mean, can Callme and Cryra even get a kill?
No, I don't think so. Not with how close the rest of the Sentinels team is. I mean, if it's clearly just like an extended 2v1, you can, but they are moving out now, and I think they're going to be spotted here pretty soon on that ward if they do walk that way. I love that HamBak is also grabbing a Randuin's of his own, double AD carry. Obviously, you have the ulti, which is going to be super effective against them, but also he is 2K gold ahead, another game where he's monstrously ahead, and he has like a 70 CS lead to boot, and they are starting up the Baron now. Huhi just trying to keep them away. It's going to be a slow burn, but once the Varus arrives, it'll be going down a lot more quickly, and it feels like DSG, they're aware, but can they approach?
Yeah, it's so hard for them to approach. Rahel hitting it now. Shreds it almost instantly.
Okay, well, he's going to spot it now, so now they know for sure. They're going to TP the Tristana back out.
I mean, Cryra would just have to blind flash in. If they can get any vision over top.
They're going to delay with the Bard ult. Can Cryra get in and try to steal his way? Callme's on the side, fighting against DARKWINGS as well as Huhi. Cryra, does he go? Nice binding comes through. The equalizer's on no one at all from Castle. HamBak goes forward, but HamBak's just going to get burst down. He's shut down by Castle. In comes the Galio ultimate, but it's not timed correctly. Castle flashes and Magical Journeys back out to safety. Feels like a bit of a comedy of errors there. As the equalizer hit no one, HamBak goes in and dies, and at the end of the day, it's DSG staving off the Baron here, but not getting more themselves.
So from the looks of it, DSG was thinking if they equalizer the Nash and Cryra goes in, maybe it's flippable, but then HamBak flies out as the equalizer goes in, which I think makes it so, because the Baron resets exactly right there. But then he takes so much damage from Castle's Rumble, just sitting on pretty much his flame spitter right there.
Oh, Callme is going to be caught out. Can he actually survive? He's trying to reset the rocket jump, and he does so onto Huhi, and now the teleports are coming in. Cryra's going to be in behind them. Can they look for more? Cryra wants to find someone. Huhi has to flash, so they have to go very defensive there in retreat. And yeah, that was some risky business around the Baron. I mean, I think the turn could have been okay, but there was 2 members from Sentinel that were up on the top side dealing with Callme. They're not with you, so if you're trying to turn like that, it's just unlikely to work out. I mean, HamBak goes over the wall thinking, hey, I have Galio ult, but your Rakan's nowhere near. Your Varus can't hit, so it's not going to work out in that situation. That's a pretty big shutdown being given over. Callme now has this LDR. You can see that the Executioner's calling the Mortal Reminder has been finished for Sajed, so surely you would think the IEs are coming next.
Yeah, they both have their armor pen items, partially because the Mountain Soul needs to be cut through. I got a weird feeling now. Just with the way that Baron went, with the way the pick happened before the maybe possible 20-minute Baron from DSG, it feels much more winnable now than it did at say 10 minutes. But Sentinels could still be one team fight away. They know they're on this power spike. They don't want the AD carries to get to IE, so they're back at the Baron.
This is scary though. If you're in the pit against the Equalizer here, Castle is very, very strong. Sajed gonna get spotted over the wall, but does have a spell shield. Callme is pushing mid lane here, so he's gonna be trying to continue that. Rahel coming to respawn now, and Callme's gonna have to be careful because he's separated from the team.
Yeah, I don't think Callme can get through, and HamBak also doesn't really take damage from the Baron, so they're really just hoping DSG commits in, and then they can get their fight.
Castle is moving over to try to regroup with Callme, but now potentially Sentinels could engage to the other side. Some poke coming through onto Kryra. The Baron's getting low. There's the Equalizer across multiple members, and the ulti from Kryra. It's gonna be cleansed off though by huhi as Kryra's incredibly low. Lyonz flashes back, as well as the flash from Sajed, but Sajed falls to Rahel. It's up to Castle and Callme. They're gonna try to get something done here on the side, but they get no kills at all. They lose their bot lane, and it feels like they're about to lose so much more.
Can just go right back onto the Baron. It is a 3v5.
Kryra's in a lot of trouble. He's got a flash, and over on the other side, Callme's going in. They're going to try to win the fight on the side, and they're going to get Rahel. He burns down. That is a massive shutdown, as HamBak was trying to go for a kill on one side. Callme going to get spotted out. Can he make a great escape? He cannot. He falls. But without the Varus, this is so much harder to do. Castle's got to try to stay alive, though. He gets caught on the recall briefly there. Overheats, trying to go in on the huhi, but surely has no damage to finish him off. And Impact is not going to go down. They're delaying the death. They're just delaying the death.
Yeah, because Elder is going to be up in 34 seconds, and now he's dead for 20 seconds after Elder, and 5 will likely be alive for this Baron. So Sentinels really on top of the death timers, even if the game is crazy. The start of that fight, huhi did incredible to peel the backside of the fight. Kryra's sticking around for some miracle steal, but it's looking tough. This will be Baron and probably Elder as well. It depends how long it takes Sentinels to reset and go down for the Elder.
Yeah, it's still 30 seconds until Castle respawns here. They're going to be able to have the Baron buff on all 5 for Sentinels, so instant reset here. And are going to be rushing out of base, spending all their gold. There's Randuin's done for HamBak. You can see he's got an elixir in his inventory. He is ready to go, and Rahel working in towards that Jack show, so going to be very tanky once that is completed. Just about delaying for Castle. They are going to have time to get him back here. The TP is going to be up very shortly after the respawn, if not right as he respawns.
Yeah, it's up.
HamBak is going to get stunned, but just no damage there to follow it up.
It's still so hard to kill him. I mean, HamBak is super tanky.
Look at that TP.
Impact is super tanky. They're TPing deep, but they'd have to get onto the carry. So Rahel's no flash. He might be a target if they can find him.
They are split once more. Do they have eyes on Castle? Kryra getting chunked down once again. He's down 2 levels, remember, here, and is not very tanky. Callme and Sajed, it's really all about them and Castle. Castle on the side, are they going to try to go for it here? In comes the Equalizer, but it's at the same time as the Bard ult, it cancels everything. Sajed is going to be charmed up, he's going to be taunted up, Castle's in trouble.
They still kill DARKWINGS.
Sajed is gone. They do get DARKWINGS. Callme's going to jump in, but he just gets knocked up and he gets knocked down. That Bard ult was playing for the other team. Sentinels crush the fight. We'll see how much more they can get, but the anti-timing there from Lyonz as it immunes the Equalizer damage, immunes the Sejuani ulti, and Sentinels are marching on the Nexus.
That's probably the game. Just a series of unfortunate events for Lyonz' Bard this game. He hit one nice one in the top lane, but had several go in the wrong direction. 4 alive, Castle the only defender. This is probably the series, Azael.
This is definitely looking like the series. Impact tanking up the towers. Castle can do nothing. Sentinels were pushed, but they did not break. They take down DSG. They qualify for the America's Cup, and they continue their march towards first stand.
Whew, Sentinels got to be feeling some relief after that one. They had control of this game 5 for pretty much 32 of the 33 minutes. And even at the end, they had the Mountain Soul. It just always felt a little bit strange because DSG would be pulling off these random plays, getting kills here or there. But at the very end of it, they win the big team fight, they push mid, and they move on. Even the game they lost, Game 3 was in their hands. So overall, if you look at it holistically, a pretty strong series for Sentinels.
Definitely the case. Spam chat now. Who is your player of the game? Mine has got to be huhi. All I can think about when I think about this game is huhi playing between the 2 towers, constantly freezing the wave on Sajed, harassing Kryra non-stop after that failed invade. Really good in the team fights. Early in Mikhail's shut down everything that Sejuani wanted to do. I feel like huhi has just been stellar throughout this season for Sentinels.
Agreed.
Lounge, what do you think?
I agree.